Okay, folks. Hello, everyone. So we're starting a bit late. My apologies. That's me. So we're starting at 1:32, 1:33, we'll call it. So I'll start off by recognizing that we're conducting business today on the territories of the Copachesit and Shot First Nations, and to appreciate and understand that fact. Because we have a hybrid meeting going on at the moment, we're also coming to you live from various New Channel territories, potentially Coast Salish territories, as well as the territories of the Tongan-speaking people. With that in mind, because we're having a hybrid format meeting, it's important that we go around the table and just introduce ourselves. I know that we feel like we just did this because we had a committee of the whole that ended like 4 minutes ago. But if we can just do that quickly now, that would be great. And then when we get to the screen, I'll just call folks out by their first name. You can introduce yourself that way. So we'll start with you again.
Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services.
Debbie Haggard, City Appointed Representative and Vice Chair of the Regional District.
Good afternoon, Akama Penny Cote. I'm the Sprout Lake Electoral Area Director on the ACRD.
Good afternoon, Mariah Coops from Mishawkasit First Nation. I am the Executive of Lands and Resources at Cleco.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Sparrow, Chair Creek Electoral Director.
Good afternoon, Susan Roth, Beaver Creek Electoral Director.
Lavana Mastrangelo from Ucluelet Ucluelet Nation and holding the assets management portfolio.
Good afternoon, Marilyn McEwen, Mayor of Ucluelet.
Good afternoon, Fred Boyko, Beaufort Area Director.
Good afternoon, Daniel Sayan, the CAO for the ACRD.
Jenny?
Yeah, Jenny Brown, General Manager of Community Services.
Mike Hurd, General Manager of Planning and Development.
Cynthia Dick, General Manager of Administrative Services.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm John Jack. I'm Chief Counselor for the Lake First Nation and Chairperson for the ACRD. And yeah, from there we have people online. So I'll just call them out in order as I see them on the screen. So Vida, please go ahead.
Thank you. Veda Siga, Area C Director for ACRD.
Thank you. And Tom?
Hi there, appointed director. My name is Tom Steer, appointed director from the District of Tofino.
And Bob, are you online?
I am. Bob Beckett, Area A, Bamfield. Good afternoon.
Thank you. And Kristen?
Hello, Kirsten Johnson from the Tokwat Nation.
Okay, thank you. And right now we have a couple of staff in the gallery, but we have Heather Thompson, our communications person, and someone who's going to be on the agenda. So I want to introduce. I think somebody else is going to do it. So because we have a hybrid format meeting, the way that we do questions and answers, unless they're coming from the gallery, which there are no members of the public in the gallery right now, we also do things online. So if there are any comments or questions, please send them to responses@acrd.bc.ca, and that would be great. And so from there, we will move into the approval of the agenda. So we do have one late item to add to item 10.1C, and this is for the approval for Director Cote to attend the BC Housing Summit, as she had done last year as well, which was really important. Was it last year or just like recently? I guess it is a new year, right? Yeah. So with that, I think that's the only thing to add to the agenda. We don't have any late items as far as I can tell. So I think we're all good, or late materials. So with that, could we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Thank you, Director Ross. Moved, seconded by Director Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, so that brings us to declarations. Does anyone have any declarations of conflict of interest, apparent conflicts of interest, or gifts exceeding $250 in value? I'm hearing nothing, and I'm just quickly checking. I don't think so. No. Okay, so with that, that moves us into the next item, adoption of minutes. I think there are three. Yes. First of which is the Alberni Valley Aquatic Center Advisory Committee meeting dated January 9th, 2024. Deb Haggard moves adoption. Thank you, Dr. Haggard. Seconded by Dr. Cote. Any comments? So if we have errors or omissions or additions to to these minutes, we can do it now, or if we notice it later, we can always put it on the agenda for our next meeting. Just have to sign it twice. Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Second is the Board of Directors meeting dated January 10th, 2024. And I can move adoption. Thank you, Dr. Boyko, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, Bob? Oh, sorry, Bob, did you have a...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Chair. I am having trouble with my video. For some reason, I can't, I can see everybody. I click on my video, it's not coming on. I've asked Heather to see if she could help me sort that out. My apologies.
Okay, in the chat. So have you tried, you've clicked it on and off. If that doesn't work, you might want to leave the meeting and rejoin it. Sometimes that reinitializes everything.
That's what I will do, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I'm an older millennial. I do tech support on the side. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item C, Alberta Valley Regional Airport Advisory Committee meeting dated January 18th, 2024. Dr. Cote.
Move receipt.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Coots. Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. All clear now, Bob. Is it good? Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is petitions, delegations, and presentations. We have one presentation as well as one delegation today. Presentations and delegations generally take 10 minutes. If we get close to that 10 minutes, I'll make a judgment on whether or not I think you're close to the end. If I think you're close to the end, I won't interrupt you. If I don't think you're close to the end, I will hit pause and ask the board if they want to continue. That's mostly for Dr. Munex. But first off, we have a bit of a presentation for 10-year service recognition. So Jenny, please go ahead.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to recognize Mark Fortune for 10 years of service with the Regional District. But that's not correct because Mark actually worked with Transport Canada starting in 1998 and managing the Long Beach Airport and joined the ACRD in 2012 under contract. So that's somewhere between 20 and 25 years of service, but we're only giving him 10 years today, but that's okay. It's been, and over that time, Mark really has a bit of a reputation that he's gained for a few things. So Mark has the award for getting the most grant money hands down, and that is partly because of the airports, but partly because maybe Mark, it could even be called an award winner because he has now gotten us a record-breaking 3 awards that no one else in BC has gotten for airports, which is excellent. But Mark doesn't care about any of those things, that's for sure. What he does care about is that he leaves things better than he found them. And I can absolutely attest that he does that for the Regional District, and we're very grateful for that. He is a dedicated father, husband, fire chief, EMT, community volunteer, old thing repairer, pilot. And when he isn't just at work doing all of that stuff and being an incredible person, he is an excellent manager, coworker, and friend to like everyone here at the ACRD. So people sincerely care about Mark because he sincerely cares about people. And he really does make this place better than it was and that you think it could be. He's so good with his relationships and creative problem solving. He will turn a cost into a revenue. Like how he does that is beyond me. My favorite phrase that Mark always says is, well, that's a good problem to have. I made him a button that says that. He does it so often. It's awesome. So Mark is not a T-crosser or an I-dotter. He's not, but he is the best airport manager. And we are so grateful to have him as part of our team. And one of my favorite quotes that someone said like within the last couple months was like, if only there could be 1,000 Marks. And I was just like, that is such a good line. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. And so Mark, I'm just so happy to have the honor to recognize you for 10 to 25 years of service.
So with that, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your service. And I believe Jenny has a gift for you, and we'd love to do a photo op if possible. So just let's just do what Heather Thompson tells us. Yeah, yeah, push the button because the people on the screen want to see it.
People on the screen. I'd just like to say, I worked in, private industry for quite some time. And this is probably the best job and organization I could work. Thank you very much.
Good job, Jenny. Okay, so that brings us to the rest of the presentations. So I would like to welcome, is it Dr. Kent Mullenix?
Yes.
All right, so you're here from the Institute for Sustainable Food Systems, so please take it away.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to delegate, and I'm coming to you from my home office on the traditional and unceded territories of the Sauk Nation on Vancouver Island. I need to share my screen, and I'm gonna try to, there we go. Have I been successful? Is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I need to get it to the show mode. There we go. There are, I am delegating to tell you about a project that we are planning to undertake starting later this year. And in doing so, I would like to introduce to you the Institute for Sustainable Food Systems, of which at Kwantlen Polytechnic University, of which I am the director. And then I would like to move in to tell you about the study that we're going to undertake. And to be upfront, I am here to ask for the regional district's endorsement of the project and to ask you to authorize your sustainability planner, Amy Needham, to work with us as a key advisor to the project. The Institute for Sustainable Food Systems was applied, was originated in 2009 at Kwantlen Polytechnic University. It is an applied research and extension unit at the university, and we focus exclusively on ecologically sound agriculture, regional food systems, and community social and economic development via sustainable food systems. We're committed to a deeply sustainable food system. And the real objective of our work is to bring to the discourse around food systems and the future of food systems data and information so that informed discussion and action can result. The ISFS team is diverse because food systems are complex and literally touch every aspect of our lives and our economy and our communities. On our team are agriculturists and planning and policy specialists and indigenous food waste specialists, natural resource managers, economists, communications specialists, etc. The reason why we are focused on advancing sustainable food systems is because the contemporary food system that predominantly feeds us exhibits some significant challenges in terms of sustainability and resilience. It operates in an increasingly volatile global economic environment, and that is very problematic because it is configured to engage in this global economic environment. It's proven itself to be quite vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. It is going to be severely impacted, is being severely impacted, but is going to be increasingly impacted by global climate change, British Columbia gets 80% of its fresh fruits and vegetables from California, and the California and Southwest U.S. horticulture sector is going to suffer great decline in this century. There's increasing corporate concentration and corporate influence in the food system. Agriculture in the food system contributes significantly to environmental stewardship challenges, et cetera, et cetera. And I won't go on. You all are familiar with these things. The study that we are planning now and intend to undertake commencing late summer or fall is intended to provide data-driven information delineating the potential of a bioregional food system on Vancouver Island in terms of food production, food self-reliance, business development opportunity, and to significantly understand the the Vancouver Island food system vulnerabilities, and in doing so advance a vision for resilient food system planning. We also hope through this project that we can foment and strengthen collective planning capacity amongst the jurisdictions on Vancouver Island, recognizing that likely the most effective food system planning does require scale, and we think a bioregional scale like Vancouver Island is most appropriate. And then finally, we also hope in this project to through its entirety to extensively engage the food system actors at multiple levels, at many levels in this process, because we want to create awareness and bring the breadth of actors along in this process of discovery and information generation. And concomitant to that, we intend to develop and widely implement a plethora of public-facing communications around Vancouver Island's food system, sustainability issues in the food system, and importantly, resilience strategies for the food system. This study builds on two previous studies that the Institute for Sustainable Food System has conducted. The bioregion food system studies in the Southwest BC bioregion, and a similar study in the Okanagan bioregion. So this study that we're going to conduct in Vancouver Island will be the third of our bioregion studies. And but what will distinguish this study from the previous two, though we'll borrow methodology, we'll build on methodology from the previous two stories, is the Vancouver Island's focus on resiliency. We focused on food self-reliance and economic potentials and environmental stewardship trade-offs in the Southwest BC study and in the Okanagan study, and we've learned the lessons to learn. We now think the next step, we believe, we're convinced the next step is to take that information and these methodologies and focus very succinctly on the notion of resiliency. The project now is in its early planning stages. We are working to shore up the entire project concept in preparation of submitting grants to fund it. We intend, as I said, to start late summer or this fall. We are putting together a team of high-level advisors from various jurisdictions on Vancouver Island. We anticipate the cost of this project to be about $450,000, and it will be conducted over 2.5 years. The cost is primarily staffing to do the data collection, data generation, data analysis, and to bring forth the communications programming. As I said, we intend to extensively throughout the project engage food system actors at all levels, and this is a very important part of this project and something we haven't done previously. And ultimately, our goal is to produce data-driven information about the potentials to bring forth a resilient food system on Vancouver Island that can inform planning and subsequent action. We believe this project directly supports the regional district's strategic plan to enhance agriculture development and I'll extrapolate the food system. And ultimately, we believe it will provide valuable data to the ACRD and every other jurisdiction on Vancouver Island as they plan for an adaptive, resilient agriculture and food system. What I would like to directly ask of you all is to yes, sir.
So I'm just going to hit pause for a second. If we can have a motion to continue the presentation.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Cote, seconded by Director Coots. All those in favor? The motion carried. Please continue, Ken.
Thank you. I'm soon to conclude. What I'm here to do is ask you to authorize your sustainability planner to be one of our top level advisors for this project. She will join a team of 2 other top level advisors, and will have significant input on the execution, the configuration and execution of this project. And then secondly, I would ask that the ACRD be willing to provide letters of support as we apply for grant funding. And with that, I will conclude.
Thank you for that. And because we have some members of the board of directors online, I'm wondering if you could quit sharing so I can see.
Yes. That. I need to figure out how to do that. Stop, share. There we go.
All right, thank you very much for that. So we'll open it up to comments and questions. And I have some comments and questions. So my first, sorry, please go ahead, Tom. Dr. Steer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin. This is muchly appreciated. And this, out on the very west coast in Tofino, this is something that is very much top of mind in terms of the resilience. I'm very much supportive of this project, and we'll be making hopefully that motion to support moving forward. It's not much of a question, but more just one of the things that I see is super positive out of this from that data-driven perspective, and a concrete takeaway, as you've indicated in the slide presentation, is the potential for an action plan for a bioregional food system for the island. And I think that has huge implications, especially around the area of resiliency in our area. And we have had some, right on the West Coast, you may know we've had some issues with access and when our transportation systems are shut down, and having those kinds of conversations of a much more resilient food system is critically important to those, all Vancouver Island, let's be honest, but certainly out on the West Coast, we think it's top front and center. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Okay, I'll move to mine. So I had a couple of questions. My first question is the approach for all of Vancouver Island to approach all of the various regional districts?
Yes, we will delegate to all of the regional districts and share this with them. We will not ask all the regional districts to authorize a staff person to be an advisor. We will likely ask them to avail a staff person to help us collect data or understand data from their regional district.
Okay, and do you have targets for which granting organizations and institutions you're looking at?
Yes, sir. We are preparing to submit a grant to the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada, which is one of the University Tri-Council agencies. It Community and College Social Innovation Fund application.
Are there any provincial or local granting institutions?
There are. We have a long relationship with the Real Estate Foundation of BC, and they are interested in parts of this project. We are going to be talking to the Vancouver Island, our Victoria Foundation, and the Vancouver Foundation. And so there are the organizations that are most interested in the work we do tend to be foundations.
Thank you. I would suggest that you maybe look into the Island Coastal Economic Trust as well.
What was that, Mr. Chairman?
Island Coastal Economic Trust.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Siga, please go ahead. And then Dr. Cote.
Thank you. This is very interesting, and it's certainly in line with the discussion that's happening. I'm currently at the Climate Change and Healthy Community Gathering in Nanaimo, and what I'm wondering is, I think this can go a long way to inform communities that exist within uniquely island environments, because the island acts as an isolating factor as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what your research shows. Thank you.
Yes.
For that, next up is Dr. Cote. Go ahead.
Thank you. Question regarding a top level advisor. I'm just wondering how much time that would take. I've recently worked with Amy Needham, who I think we're talking about, and she's very a really great resource. And I'm just wondering how much time it's going to be to take. I see this as a very valuable initiative, but I'm concerned about the time that of one of our employees. Thank you.
Yes, Director Cote, we anticipate approximately and maximally perhaps 5 hours a month, more upfront than toward the end of the project. So we don't anticipate a hugely onerous burden.
Okay, thank you. With that, then, I think the next question that's begged from that statement is that your sense, Daniel, in regards to the time?
I think that's accurate, and it is in a report 92A. The question is being brought to the board with the recommendation to allow Amy to proceed, and that estimate is that time estimate is also reflected in the report.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I think that's it for the rest of the board. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, Ken, and hopefully you're able to follow up with iced tea. There might be some options there as well.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all, and I'll look forward to hearing the outcome.
Have a good day. Okay, that brings us to the next item, And the next item under 6 is correspondence for action. This is a request for a nominee to represent the Alberni 5-foot Regional District to the Port Alberni Port Authority Advisory Nominating Committee. So they're looking for, I believe, a board member, and there's a process for that. Daniel, is that something you would take on?
So it's a regular practice for us to nominate somebody to represent the CRD on the Port Authority Advisory Nominating Committee. And so what we have before us is the information relevant to that. And we're seeking for a gracious volunteer from this table to step up. I thought maybe Fred was already volunteering, but Director Boyko?
It's interesting you say that, Daniel, because I was looking up how much time is involved and who's currently doing it right now. And I was unable to find both of those pieces of information. So when do they meet? How often? And who's doing it? I can't tell on their website at all.
I'll try and answer some of your questions, Fred, because our Director Boyko, because my husband used to be in the nominating committee. They only meet when there's a need for a new person on the board. So as those people leave, then the board will meet and go through a process. And I will warn you, it is a frustrating process. Just be forewarned.
I enjoy frustrating processes. If that's what it is, then you guys go ahead and decide.
We're happy to have you, Fred. I won't do that to you. I'll let somebody else. Director Haggard?
I'd like to make the motion that the Board of Directors nominate Director Boyko to be the Alberni Clay Clark Regional District's nominee for consideration of the Port Alberni Port Authority's Port Advisory Nominating Committee.
I thought you were his friend. Second by Director Roth. Thank you. It's actually, they do a lot of good work at the Port Authority, so I think it's worthwhile. Any further comments or questions? It's your last chance, Director Boyko. Yeah, okay. That's great. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. All right. Thank you for that. That brings us to item 7, correspondence for information. Pacific Rim School District. Was there anything anyone would like to pull out, or we just have a motion to receive? You're moving, Director Roth? Thank you. Director Cote, did you have a comment, or?
I'd like to pull out the Heritage Week.
Yeah, would you like to second, and then we'll get.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. And then Heritage Week, go ahead.
Just recognition that it is, I believe, next week, February 19th to the 25th. Sorry, the city of Port Alberni is doing a lot of the museum is doing a lot of different activities regarding Heritage Week. So just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board and give it a bit of airtime. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, seeing no one else, all those in favor? Receiving? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item 8, request for decisions and bylaws. So first up is request for decision regarding standing and select committee appointments and appointments to outside organizations. Heather, please go ahead.
Thank you. So there's 2 resolutions. The first one is to appoint for the Board of Directors to approve the standing select committee appointments and appointments to outside boards, agencies, and commissions as presented. I've done some updating to the list, basically to remove some committees that are no longer active, and I've referenced those in the report. And then the second part, the resolution is to appoint a member or a director to the Strathcona Regional District's Natural Resource Committee. And just as a way of reminder, the board did consider this at the January 10th meeting, but the board asked staff to inquire about expanding the terms of reference to include tourism and other fisheries. Staff did meet with Strathcona Regional District and Mount Waddington to talk about expanding the terms of reference, but really it was determined that it would be best to appoint a director to the committee, attend the first meeting to determine the structure of the committee, ensure relevant First Nations are invited, and then seek to expand the terms of reference if the committee is deemed successful. So at this point, staff are recommending that the board appoint a director to this Natural Resource Committee, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Dr. Roth?
For the Beaver Creek Water Committee, it says that it holds 7 members at large and there's only 5, and I'd like to appoint 2 more people. Is that possible?
Yeah, we can, if you're ready to do it now, we can do it now, or we can just come back at a later meeting to do that. Yeah. We're just supposed to review it every year. We don't necessarily,
Well,
we're not restricted in making changes. We can make changes every month if we wanted to.
can we add Colin McLennan to the Beaver Creek Water Committee, and the other person's name I can't remember?
Okay, well, let's just put it in a thing and come back to the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Coetzee?
Thank you. There's 2 committees that aren't on here that I would like to have included. And one would be with the total board for a water committee. Yeah, yes. We can. The other one is I have been invited to participate on the SOMAS Fish Flow Committee, which I've attended a 2-day forum last week, and last year I attended one in the fall regarding the weir plates. So it's all about water control at Sprout Lake and going into the city. So it's all about Catalyst assets and the management and control of it. With regard to, we've included a whole list. I haven't got the minutes yet back from the last 2-day forum, but it's extremely important on managing the water for everyone, for water licenses, to a probable water source for the whole valley coming from the pulp mill water line. So there's a lot of questions that have gone to Catalyst regarding their asset management plan. And so I'd like to be a committee that I could be appointed to. Thank you.
So let's do a resolution to ask for what the specifics are, and we can pass that at the next meeting. If I forget after we do these 2 motions, just put your hand up. Any further comments or questions? Yeah, that's interesting, the flood mapping kind of connection networking that's going on. It's kind of bridging out. Okay, so the first item is approve the ACRD standing and select committee appointments and appointments to boards, agencies, and commissions as presented, which includes the removal of the inactive committees. So that's the first motion. Do we have someone to move that? Thank you, Dr. Haggard, seconded by Dr. Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? A motion carried. Thank you. So the next item is, because it seems like this whole Natural Resources Committee thing is sort of mayors, chairs, and CAOs that are participating, I'd like to just take an initial step forward to interact with these 2, just because it seems like that's the case. So might as well do it that way. And then I'll report back with Daniel about what it actually is and whether or not it's worth further investigation. So if we could have someone to appoint me. So thank you, Dr. Roth, seconded by Dr. Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? A motion carried. Okay, so the third motion will be for the items that Director Cote has mentioned for your appointments for those 2 things. So the creation of a committee. So that might need terms of reference and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I would direct that to staff to come back with a report on the water committee for the SOMAS Fish Flow.
Okay, so that second one might be faster, but we can make it one motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have already reached out regarding the SOMAS Fish Flow as well, so we are getting information on that, so we can package them together and come back with the report.
Just that Amy Needham has also attended the last meetings that I was with, and very valuable employee that we have here. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Agree.
So would you like to move that, Dr. Cote?
So moved.
All right, and do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. All those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to 8B, which is a Smith Road water main replacement. Jenny, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, so we're looking for the board to support award of the contract to replace the Smith Road water line. It's about 700 meters worth of water main, and at the amount of $420,000. So the good news on this one is that, again, we're actually pretty successful in the Beaver Creek water system, where we are doing a design quite ahead of time. So we had a design done in 2023, and we prepared all of the tender documents to issue early in the year. And we gave a very wide time frame for those bids to come in. And we have been very successful in coming in well under our projected estimated costs, which also might be an indication that some of the increased costs we saw through COVID are starting to come back down again. So all very good news. We have money in our reserve allocated for this already. We actually have budgeted $700,000. And so with this project, plus we have about $45,000 for engineering and administration oversight of the project. And we expect to have it completed by the end of 2024.
Thank you. Dr. Roth?
I'd like to make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. I really do hope that's it. All right, next up is the West Coast Landfill Compost Hub Building.
Thank you. And this is a recommendation to award to Spanmaster $122,000 for cover buildings at the West Coast Landfill. As you may remember, when we were doing the original organics and tipping area upgrades at the West Coast Landfill, we ran into huge cost overruns when the bids came in. And so we had to shift on that project and break it out and try to peel off some of the project and work that was included in that in order to continue to move forward with the project. One of the pieces that we pulled out was cover for the compost area. So the challenge with not having covered areas, we're using interim cover, is that we have a lot of rainfall. It's difficult to manage. It's difficult to move around. And especially at the site right now, we're having challenges getting the compost really turning over in a good time. And so the cover buildings are going to help. They were in the original design. The good news is that because we did remove that from the original pricing and now we bid it by itself, the prices have come in again at a more reasonable level. So that could just be that we're doing this at a later time, or because we're going direct to the companies who provide the cover buildings. So we do have funds available still within the 2023 amount that we had allocated that we're going to be rolling forward to 2024 in the financial plan. And so we have money in the original budget available for this.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Dr. Haggard?
Thank you, Jenny. I'm always very concerned with such a large difference between the lowest bid and the highest bid. So, or do you know this company and their quality of work at all, or?
That's a very good concern. They have met all of our requirements for the tender pricing. Sometimes we can get a span like this, and if you saw with Smith Road, it was the same thing. Again, this is probably somewhat indicative of an economy shift where some people are in a different place, and some companies, they're in need of this work, and so they're willing to bid it at a lower price.
Thank you. Dr. Steer?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion, but I just wanted to thank Jenny and the team once again for looking at this project in a big picture way, breaking that project up into those sizable bites, and that has paid off in dividends in terms of the lower costs for this project. So with that being said, if there are no other comments, I'd like to make the motion that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors award the West Coast Landfill cover building contract to Spanmaster Structures Limited in the amount of $122,824.42, excluding GST, and authorize the CAO to negotiate and execute the West Coast Landfill cover building contract on behalf of the regional district.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item D. Canoe procurement. Shane, are you online, Shane?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a request for decision for board approval to utilize the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada's cooperative purchasing contracts. Canoe is a member-driven organization that offers cooperative purchasing power for all of its members. Its members include public sector and not-for-profit organizations. So what does Canoe do? Canoe issues open public competitive procurement offerings such as requests for proposals. They evaluate each response and then they select and enter into sometimes one, sometimes multiple contracts with vendors who they deem best value. Each contract is fully compliant under the New West Partnership and Canada Free Trade Agreements. At a staff level, we see there's a large potential cost and time savings for specifically commodity-based products such as commercial equipment and fire services equipment. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Cote?
Thank you. Just a bit of a concern that we won't be looking local. I know it says here that we could, there's no obligation to have to use them, but it seems like a duplication almost. Thanks.
So in terms of local, I know Canoe does allow us to utilize those contracts and contract rates with local entities. So if they do have a local supplier, they are able to offer those rates to us through those contracts. And as mentioned in the RFD, staff will definitely be looking at the value of going local or utilizing one of these contracts when deciding if we see a best value in it. I don't think that using this, having this as a tool in our procurement book would push us away from using local suppliers in our system.
So I have one more question. So fire service equipment. So I know that the fire departments go directly to the companies that are building these. So I don't know that there would be any cost saving there. Thank you.
So with their contracts, they're actually set into set rate discounts. Typically, it's a set discount straight off MSRP. So our expectation is that through these contracts, we'd actually be receiving a lower rate than we would be if we were going directly to that vendor.
Thank you. Any further comments? Director Sparrow?
Thank you. Utilizing this source save any staff time, or will just be the same as?
So in terms of a RFP process, these contracts are already set up and Canoe's already gone through that RFP process and they've already evaluated each submission. So in terms of a staff saving time, we're saving time on prepping that RFP, on evaluating all the bids and prepping a contract. We're just more doing a review of Canoe's process and going over their rates and evaluations and finding a best fit for us.
Just one last question. I had a question in regards to how this might interact with SSPI, so Social and Strategic Procurement Initiative that's been happening on Vancouver Island. Is this something that it can be additive, like they can take those kind of considerations into account when they go through their own processes?
Currently, they don't have a set process for that, and I believe a lot of that stems from it being very commodity based. But our understanding is they're hoping to roll that out in their future request for proposal processes as well at a staff level. We will be looking at that when we are going out. If we can implement some of those social items, then we would probably refer back to doing it as an internal procurement process versus going through one of their contracts.
Right, so steel, equipment, gravel, concrete, that kind of thing. Okay. All right, would anyone like to move the motion? Thank you, Dr. Haggard, seconded by Dr. Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those, oh, sorry, Dr. Cote, please go ahead.
Just wondering what their cost is.
Canoe, there's no cost to us. Canoe skims a percentage off of the vendor side to cover their fees and administration of their program.
I don't think you can believe you get anything for free. The vendors add on a portion to cover it, so we still pay the cost of just getting price.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried, thank you. All right, that brings us to item E, which is an ABICC 2024 resolution regarding the drought. So, Mike, please go ahead.
Yes, as requested by the board, the attached resolution has been presented for the board to consider. And just a quick summary, we have talked a number of times about the impacts of drought on our region and the increased frequency. There would be minimal staff time. It does align with a number of the strategic plan areas. And fits into some of the work we're doing, both around agriculture and water as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? I don't have any questions. I think it's a good motion. Just if we choose to go ahead with it, I'm wondering if the board would like me to introduce this at the ABICC, or if maybe an EA director would like to, given that it is water, and water has been mentioned by both Director Cote and Director Roth in various contexts that have to do with like securing supply and making sure we have a good understanding of it. So I don't know, because I don't know if you're tied up. Yeah. So are you going to ABICC, Director Roth? No? Okay. So it's end of February, right? Almost the end of 12th. Oh no, it's an Ottawa thing. Sorry. I have yeah. No, it's late February for me. I'm just getting things mixed up. Dr. Cote?
I think it would be good for you to introduce it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Dr. Haggard?
I was just going to say, if you're not there, I'm happy to do it as well.
Okay, yeah, no, I will be there for sure. I'm planning on being at the ABICC conference. I just got the dates mixed up. Okay, could we have someone to move the motion? Thank you, Dr. Roth. Seconded by Dr. Sparrow. Not Dr. Conte. You realized before, right, as you put your hand up, it's like, maybe I should. Yeah. Okay, any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Technically, it wouldn't be, but not a fun conversation to have. Karen, for the next one, item F, emergency rates. Please go ahead.
Before you say it is an RFP requesting the board support for staff to submit a resolution and background document at the ABICC conference.
Okay, is there another microphone that you can pick? That one was quite bad. If not, I might need you to do what Bob did, is disconnect and reconnect.
Or come upstairs.
Or come upstairs. I guess that's also. All right, here she comes. I'm gonna make you stand at the podium just so you know. Okay.
As we're waiting, and likely pertinent to Director Steer, we have been working with Tofino on a resolution regarding fire. So I know that we had discussed fire services and medical calls. So ultimately, what we have as a potential resolution to ABICC is going to come from Tofino, I think, regarding having the province pay for the percentage of medical calls coming from or that make up our annual call volume. The RDN is considering a similar resolution, and that's why there's been some delays as various things circulate. I think the RDN is considering it, Parksville passed it, and so we're looking at it in a collaborative way with similar language.
Before we go to Karen, Dr. Steer, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to, thank you, Daniel. We had that conversation at yesterday's council meeting, and one of the questions that I did have that Nyla, in terms of the bringing that resolution forward, is I had wondered, I had thought that the RDN and or Parksville had already made that resolution to move forward at AVICC, but my understanding is now that Tofino will be putting that resolution together with support of the ACRD. To bring that forward to AVICC.
Okay, great. Thank you. And welcome upstairs, Karen. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Chat this again. Before you today is an RFD requesting the board's support for staff to submit a resolution and background document at the AVICC conference relating to the need for the development of a secondary route. Emergency route, as you're all aware, there was a number of impacts with Highway 4 in our community and residents, particularly businesses. There was just this RFD outlines a summary of some of these impacts. So I talk about the psychological losses and experiences of anxiety and stress from residents and travelers, challenges and lost wages for commuters who had difficulties going to and from our community for work. There was a number of medical concerns, transportation of medical staff, transportation of pharmaceuticals became an issue, and ability for our residents to get out of town medical support as well, receiving treatments and surgeries that had been booked for a long time. And although Modi had authorized the use of the alternate route and deemed it safe, there was a perceived risk that meant that a lot of people were unable to use this road. So there was conditions with their vehicles, inexperience with driving on gravel roads, medical concerns, unfamiliarity with the roads, and this prevented some people from being able to use the road despite the fact that it was available. And furthermore, the route was unequitable to all members, as some people in our community being more vulnerable, those without reliable transportation, or the elderly, or those with medical conditions weren't able to use the road. And there was a perceived instability. So this could have long-term effects on tourism as well, of people making decisions about not wanting to, just in case the road closes, not wanting to come to our area. And of course, there was significant impacts on businesses and our economy. So as mitigation costs far less than response and recovery, the development of a secondary route would be beneficial disaster risk reduction strategy for our region. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Daniel, supplemental before we open it up?
Just to add that I think staff did a good job in doing the research, but also trying to draft this so that the anticipation would be that if AVICC supports it, it goes on to UBCM, and trying to use wording that wasn't so specific to our valley that other communities like Harrison Hot Spring could say, hey, yeah, that resonates with us, and push it forward. And we also wanted to loop in the comments that Director Cody had brought up in terms of Crib. Again, that's another route that could meet the criteria of an emergency evacuation route that's being set up for decommissioning, but yet could be useful for us on that side of the bridge. And so we just really think that this is a provincial matter, and that there could be a common voice in establishing some sort of emergency routes in perpetuity, as opposed to seeing them be decommissioned.
Agreed. I'm not certain Harrison Hot Springs can have much of the capacity to really meaningfully involve themselves, but I guess it's a different thing. Dr. Steer, and then Dr. McEwen, did you have your hand up, or no? Okay, Dr. Steer, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and very much support the resolution. My only comment is more just a procedural one in terms of often in conversation around resolution and the resolution process. I would have to comment on the length of the resolution, that moving forward in terms of brevity. And it is, while it does encompass a lot of information, one of the pieces of advice I had been given from a former chair of the ACRD and former mayor of Tofino was those resolutions, the more concise they are, the fewer whereases, the more pertinent. I don't know if there is a way of consolidating it, or if the amount of information that is in there is particularly necessary for this resolution to be effective.
Yeah, we don't want to be like Victoria, I guess. But that being said, I think each of these points are relevant. And honestly, the AVICC folks, they read out the therefore be resolved part, so it's not that long if you just read that part. Dr. Cote, thoughts?
Thank you. So AVICC will receive this and we forward it on to UBCM and they will help to restructure the resolution or make some suggestions if needed. Thanks.
Great. Any further comments? Seeing none? Would anyone like to make the motion to adopt this? You don't need to read the whole thing.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and seconded by Dr. Boyko. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. All right, that brings us to planning matters. So if you are from a First Nation or a municipality, you can get up and go to the washroom, but don't leave the building. Next up is item 9.1A. It is a rezoning application. So Mike, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So this is a rezoning application for a property at 7655 Trill Pit Road. This is within the Sprout Lake electoral area. The proposal is to rezone the proposal is a rezoning application accompanied by an OCP amendment to facilitate a proposed 6-lot subdivision. This has already been to public hearing and had received second and third reading, and now all conditions of subdivision have been met, and staff recommend that bylaws P1461 and P1462 be adopted, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Director Cote?
Thank you. I would make the motion that bylaw P1461 Sprout Lake official community plan amendment bylaw be adopted.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried.
I would make the motion that bylaw P1462 Regional District of Alberni Clayoquot Zoning Atlas Amendment bylaw be adopted.
Seconded by Director Sparrow. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. And that brings us to item B, the official community plan updates, work plan, and community engagement strategy. Mike, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So this is a follow-up to direction the board gave in December. And there are two recommendations and main components to this report. The first is to confirm the order of the OCP reviews, and the second is to authorize proceeding with the hiring of a consultant. And in putting this recommendation together, sort of the order, it was a challenge. It was a difficult, coming up, and so we had to put some recommendations in. So we did, and they were based on the age of the OCPs, the development activity within each area, but also other plans and reports that are being prepared within some specific electoral areas that will impact or support the development of the OCP. So there are things like the Banfield Development Plan, which is we're preparing the RFP right now. There's the review of the options for conversion in the Cherry Creek Improvement District. There's some water studies going on in Beaver Creek. So as I'll summarize this and then happy to answer questions and work through that. The other part of the recommendation would be to authorize a request for proposals to hire a consultant to lead this work through. And while each OCP would be reviewed sort of one at a time, the idea would be that we would have two ongoing at a time and just working through them. So there is sort of they're big projects. There is lulls, it's sort of a lot of work up front, and then we will set up engagement with the community. There will also be times where we're engaging with other referral agencies, First Nations. There's so much required parts. The legislation requires a lot of these things, and so we'll be able to start working on the next one. Appendix A summarizes the background and work plan and timeline for each OCP. So I think that summarizes it. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Director Sparrow?
Thank you for that. Seeing as how we're further down the list than the first one, what would probably be the timeline for us to see if OCP open house review? 14 months, 16 months? And what do you look at for there?
I would be saying, 18 to 24 months. It's about a year process to work through each one. If we do move through them quicker, great. The first one is going to be sort of a template for the process. But I don't want to, overpromise and underdeliver. I'd rather they go quicker. So I think realistically to be starting the last batch would be 18 to 24 months.
Okay, well, and then after that would be the bylaws. So we're looking at least 3 or 4 years the bylaws have gone in.
Sorry. So this would be like through completion, right? So that includes adoption of the bylaws. So there's the community engagement, but then just drafting the OCP, but the OCP and the draft OCP is the bylaw, or it's a schedule of the bylaw. And then the idea through these processes is that the HRD has done all of the engagement and referral comments, so that when it comes to first reading, people are generally comfortable with it, both the public, the board, and the agencies that have say and impact on the OCPs.
Director Blicko.
Thank you very much. One of my main concerns is just making sure we get good public participation. We get a good town hall. People do not want just the advisory planning committees making decisions on the OCPs. They'd all like to have input as well. So I'd like to make sure that happens. I'd also like to ensure that we have a mechanism to have at least part 3 of the zoning bylaws separate for each electoral area. So that's the important part that differentiates whether you have docks or whether you have farm animals and all that important stuff, parking spaces and all those things that matter to people is actually different because it is markedly, and that's what people want. Thank you.
So the community engagement, absolutely. And that's certainly our goal and the work plan and the draft work plans attached. Once the consultant is hired, we would come back with a specific work plan for each area. But yes, certainly it's not just go to the APC and draft it. The idea is we will engage with the community. The APCs have an important role to play in this, unless the board directs us to do something different. But in the past, as we've done this, we work closely with the APCs, but also with the community. And so the idea would be the community engagement would be some targeted areas. So Farmers Institute, as an example, say especially in Beaufort, but also going up to the community and say we're starting this project. We've got some good ideas and direction through what we did in the fall, but before there's anything really concrete written, just going back to the community with specifically in each area, these are the concepts. Do we understand it correct? Is there other things people want? Get that feedback. Draft. Do some initial draft. Go back to the community. Get input. We will have online opportunities as well. So all of that is part of it. I expect through this there will be lots of discussion about the zoning bylaw as well. But again, the zoning bylaw would be coming after this based on the board's direction. And there would be separate engagement just for the zoning bylaw as well. But we're going to include some of those questions that you were talking about that the public has let us know about with specific to the zoning bylaw.
Thanks. Further comments, questions? Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. The last OCP that I went through with my community, there was a lot of public engagement and a lot of input from the APCs, the Spur Lake Parks. They contact the fire department. All committees and agencies were included. Agricultural values were all identified. in the last OCP. It was done well. Yeah, the community association was very involved as well. I did my own news publications. The regional district did theirs, and I think that the regional district has stepped up quite well with communications now. I think people are connecting now through Facebook and your other online notifications and radio news, everything. It's all combined, and people are starting to take note. Thanks.
So I was just going to add, Director Boyko wanted to go first.
No, Director Cote, you triggered my memory on something. Black Press Media is going bankrupt right now. Are we still going to continue to use Alberni Valley Times or AV Times or whatever they call themselves now as a main means of transporting stuff to the public? I know they're going to get sold and someone's going to buy them up, but what alternatives do we have? Because that might not exist anymore.
So, and if I can, so there is the engagement with the public and notifications, to inform people about things, and there's also the legislative requirements. And when we have a newspaper available, and I'd have to go back and be specific on the legislation. I think we need to be using the newspaper as far as notifying for public hearing ads. If the newspaper was to cease to exist, there are alternatives, and we would be coming back with a report to the board because we would need to do that to carry on with all the public hearings we need to do. So that is one component, but we certainly, as part of the engagement plan, plan to utilize, all of the other options available to us, especially around social media, which I think is one of the things that I've learned in the last year is how important that is. And we want to do that. And we have we have some of the resources within our office, and we also have some funding to do the engagement on this work as well. So absolutely. The other point to the time frame, and I just is the time it takes to do this kind of work is around the engagement. So going to the public, getting the feedback. It's the most important part, but it's also the part that takes the most amount of time. So there is ways to shorten up those timeframes, but then it would be less engagement with the community and less opportunities for review of drafts with the community. And just based on what the feedback we've had in the last 6 months, I think a longer time frame with more public engagement is what needs to happen. Thank you.
And I just want to add something to that. Part of the order, and Mike and I, when we were discussing this, is also looking at what else is happening in 2024 and 2025. And so Beaver Creek and Beaufort, Beaver Creek has a lot of water discussion in 2024. So rather than confuse things, we want to try and keep it singular. Beaufort has a lot of agriculture, and we have a new agriculture position. We're just going to be finding our feet with that. So we thought that with South Long Beach and Sprout Lake, it's appropriate, you're ready, we can get started. There's not that it's without its complexities, but it can be the central discussion point moving forward in 2024. We know that Cherry Creek has a lot of conversion study and fire halls and water discussions. We anticipate they're going to happen in 2024, but it's really hard for us to predict how that's going to go, which was part of the reason why we thought we'd move you last. And then with Bamfield, we are aware of the fact that there's a lot of discussion of the impact of new roads and work with Huey and master planning going on there. And we thought we'd create some space along those lines prior to advancing. So part of it was really a strategy of making sure that we weren't over exerting any one public at any one time. And the other was to also try and make sure that we had a little bit of Alberni Valley happening and a little bit of West Coast happening, and hope to balance that out. Of course, there's no real crystal ball. I'm sure there's going to be some surprises along the way, but this is our best guess.
Director Ross and then Director Cote.
I was just going to make the motion.
Thank you. Would you like the second, Director Cote, and then have Yeah, okay, comment.
I was just gonna make a motion.
Well, there we go. Any further comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
So is there two motions? then?
Yeah, there are.
I'll make the second motion.
Thank you, Dr. Cote. Seconded by Director Roth. Any further comments? All those in favor? And motion carried. Thank you. All right, Lavana, you can come back now. Next up is the participation in the KPU bioregional food system study. So this is just from the presentation today. So this is a planning matter for all directors. So there's, I think, just the one motion, and that's to participate in the study by having the person and be involved and supply a letter of support to their grant applications. Director Roth, go ahead.
I would like to make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? I think ultimately that it could be a useful study if our person helps make it a useful study. Okay. Any further comments? Dr. Cote and then Dr. Buckout.
Thank you. Food security is really important. It really is a matter of when we're going to need this, when we're cut off. If anything happens on the mainland to stop that export of foods coming to us. We've already seen implications through COVID when the shelves started going bare with fire. Having some supports in place and having this study show us the way to do it. So I think it's great, and Amy Needham is great. Thanks.
Yeah. Anything that makes us less dependent on Cisco, which is right behind two separate pinch points on the island, it would be good, especially with the closing of a Casco for quality foods. It's something where food security is an issue, especially if things happen. So that being said, I think this is well timed. Go ahead.
One more thing. I think that it's supportive of our local growers, and they could use the assistance. And just even knowing that we're doing this and that we are looking for ways to support. We've done the abattoir support in the past and looking at water support for agriculture. This is just one more benefit to that community. Thanks.
Yes, all very good points, especially with the expansion of the Port Plus facility for the Port Authority. These are all things that can work together. Okay, with that, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Okay, next up is 10.1 reports. We have 3 items here. The new one is the BC Housing Report, which is a verbal report that we can cover under committee reports too. Oh no, that was just a mistake, wasn't it? We're going to do it here. Okay. I have been asked by multiple staff members to please make sure everyone looks at the meeting schedule for February and March, just because with the budgetary meeting schedule, we just want to make sure everyone's available, especially when it's budgetary. As grinding as it was, the meeting we had this morning was pretty productive, and it might not have been if we were mostly online. So I think that's part of the consideration there. With that, would anyone like to pull anything up before we talk to the BC Housing item? Director Sparrow, go ahead.
Well, thank you. I'd like to pull out the building report for December. Am I reading it right that we had 105 inspections last year, and that's getting lower than it was year before? Are we slowing down building-wise in ECRD?
Yes, there was 105 building permits issued in 2003, right? And I can report back about how many we had. So there are that's this stat is when the permits are issued. So I'll report back, but there was less than 2022 and 2023.
We are starting to be officially in that technical recession, depending on what happens in December, I think.
Okay, that brings us to the Housing Summit conversation. Heather, please go ahead.
Thank you. Director Cote is interested in attending the 2024 Housing Summit in Vancouver on February 13th and 14th. And as per the board remuneration policy, directors require board approval to have expenses covered to attend this type of event. So we're just looking for support for part of Director Cote's expenses to be covered.
So just further to that, because I'm on the executive of UBCM, we had a special meeting a couple weeks ago and have expedited this forum. So UBCM is covering my hotel and travel cost because they'd like the executive to be in attendance to this meeting. It's quite important. The province is bringing forth housing legislation that's one size fits all, and it does not fit all. So it's important that UBCM has a strong voice. Thank you.
Thank you. I may be attending if I have time as chief counselor, so that's going to be coming soon. So, any further comments? Would anyone like to move? Of course, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's also a virtual option if people would rather do that as well. I will be attending virtually.
Thank you. Dr. Roth?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. McEwen. Any further comments? All right, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, thanks, Ben. Could we have a motion to receive the staff reports? Thank you, Dr. Roth. Seconded by Dr. Boyko. All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, that brings us to committee reports. First up is Active Committee. Dr. Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. We had a meeting yesterday morning. Elected a new chair, which will be Heather Show, and vice chair will be Tanya Shannon. The second MEET fundamentals course will be taking place in approximately 3.5 weeks from now, February 20th. And they're accepting applications. So thank you everybody for their support on that. I think it's a great idea having more people, your hands freaking me out, having more people involved with this throughout the whole valley. So we all appreciate that. Island Agricultural Show is in about 2 weeks in Duncan, February 2nd and 3rd. Cabin at Shannon's Farms is looking forward to doing another local food dinner this year. The last one was well received. So majority of the food was locally sourced. So thank you very much. And everything's going well. Thanks.
Good to hear that Tanya is getting more involved. Any further comments? Okay, we'll move on to the Banfield Area Services Committee meeting dated yesterday as well. Bob, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it was our inaugural meeting of the Banfield Area Services Committee meeting. It's a consolidation of a number of services representing Banfield Waste Management, Banfield Community Parks, Banfield Volunteer Fire Department, Banfield Emergency Planning, and Banfield Water System. There is one director, ACRD director from Banfield, from Hawaiiat and Uchuckusett, and there are 4 community members that make up this committee. I thought it was for the first time, and not sure just where we were going with the committee mandate and responsibilities. I thought it was excellent, and especially given the fact that there was a large number of staff associated with the topics that were on the agenda to provide technical, administrative, and operational advice as we work through some of the agenda items. So we meet quarterly or at the call of the chair, and I'd like to thank Jenny for putting this together, and of course thank all the volunteers who are participating on this committee. And I'd be remiss if I didn't identify that our own Director Coates is on this committee, and I look forward to working with her on this level. That's my report, sir.
Yeah, it was good to see that Dr. Coates was there as well. Okay, are there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Would someone like to move to receive their reports? Thank you, Dr. Roth. Seconded by Director Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right, that brings us to member reports. 911 Corporation, Director Beckett.
No report. Our next meeting is this Friday, sir.
Regional Library, Director Cote.
Thank you. I recognize that the city of Port Alberni recently had President Aaron Heavens and their administrator Ben Hyman, thank you, to their council meeting. So I did talk with Director Haggard about the meeting, and our concerns are very much in line. So what I'd like to do is ask the regional district to assist with a Zoom meeting with the regional district library representatives so we can discuss our concerns. And the increases that came this past year have just been unacceptable. We need to plan for the future. Also, Port Alberni's library was supposed to be top of the list. It's no longer there. No more discussions about what they're going to do with improvements to the library. I have big concerns. I've been bringing this out over the past couple of years that our regional district has actually no bricks and mortar. So all we do is support the system, the library system, which when we're not captured within our incorporated communities, the Port Alberni Library is too small according to the library standard. So would the West Coast libraries be too small for when you don't incorporate the surrounding areas we're not captured anywhere. So there's some real big deficiencies within the library. There's been some issues of late that have also brought credibility of the library, I guess, to question. So I'd really like to see us, we could have a staff member as well attend to help out and bring the information to the board then. And that would be my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Yeah, I just had a comment on that. At the December board meeting, the board directed staff to invite Vancouver Island Regional Library to the board meeting, and they have committed to coming on February 14th.
So the president is Erin Hemmons, like Nanaimo Erin Hemmons? Okay. I kind of know her like outside of this world, so maybe I should start talking to her about this kind of stuff. Okay, thank you for that. Any further comments on the regional library? Okay, we should have a meeting between me, you, Heather, and Daniel, just to prep if you're not going to be here. Yeah. So maybe I won't go to the housing thing. We'll see. Okay, with that, Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Haggard.
I don't have a report, but I want to thank Chair Jack for being the guest speaker at the last Chamber of Commerce breakfast meeting. He spoke on the Transportation Advisory Committee. He spoke very eloquently as usual.
I forgot that was a chamber thing. Okay. Okay, item D, Air Quality Council, Dr. Sparrow.
Thank you. We have no meetings for this year. We'll have one in the next couple of weeks.
AVICC, Dr. Cote.
Convention's coming. Resolutions deadline is coming soon, I believe. And if anybody is considering running for the executive, please step up. I'll be past president after the convention, so would like to see somebody else from our area coming in. I think that would be great.
We were just going to take over the organization, change the constitution.
Okay.
As president for life. No. Thank you. That brings us to item F, Sawakin Public Advisory Group. Dr. Sparrow.
We also have not had a meeting so far this year, but hopefully we will in the next month.
Thanks. Any other reports? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to receive the reports? Thank you, Dr. Boyko, seconded by Dr. Roth. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, we don't have any unfinished business, no late business. I doubt we have any question period stuff, but do we have any responses on the email address?
We have no emails, and I'm just going to check Zoom. And no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next item up is to end the public portion of the meeting to go in camera. I will move a motion based on the community charter. We close the meeting only for specific purposes, so I'll read the note now. The motion is to close the meeting to the public as per the community charter under section 91A regarding personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position of as an officer, employee, or agent of the regional district or another position appointed by the regional district. So I'll move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cote.